not want a good quality of life for the Russians, for the Ukrainians, and for all the other neighbors of Russia. He wanted a personal and superficial idea of glory for himself and for his fellow crews. And riches, of course. He wanted to ransack Ukraine instead of being friends with Ukraine. And as we've said before, Ukrainians have their history and the Russians have their lies. And if they continue going this way, the Russians themselves will be history. That is a given. Because that's exactly where Putin is taking his country, and he's trying to drag Ukraine with it. He's trying to drag the whole world with Russia. And their collapsing demographic situation, and their collapsing economics, of course. As you well know, the main source of income in Russia is their fossil fuels. They did not develop their infrastructure. They did not develop the quality of life for their people. The only thing they developed was their military, so that they would be able to invade other countries and take over them. And it's the only thing that the Russian state was interested in. And I say state with a pause, because it's difficult to say if it is a state or if it is a country-sized criminal syndicate, as we all know that it is. Because Russia does not function like a normal country. It does not function like the UK, like the US, like France. It functions with the principle of might makes right. And the most powerful man can do whatever he pleases. And he can never be held responsible by the fellow Russians, because he holds the power. Now, in a democracy, in a real modern state, there are checks and balances to the power of the leader. That is the evolution of statehood that humanity has had. But not Russia. Russia has remained in the past. Rather than calling Russia a republic or a democracy, it's a lot more accurate to call it the Khanate of Muscovy. Because that's exactly what they've been acting like a Khanate that invades and ransacks other nations until it is stopped at last. And now is the time, my friends. There have been many mistakes done in the past. And Putin was not the only one who committed them. Russia should have been stopped when they invaded Georgia. It wasn't. Russia should have been stopped in 2014 when they invaded Ukraine, and they weren't. But now is the time that the world can finally see the truth. It can finally see the writing on the wall. As the old saying goes, the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again and to expect a different result. And we can't keep doing the same thing with Russia. We can't keep committing the same mistake. We can't keep stepping on the same rake. We need to finally learn our lesson. The whole world needs to learn its lesson and stop Russia. Stop Russia, stop the war.
Stop Russia, stop the war.
Stop Russia, stop the war.
Stop Russia, stop the war. Stop Russia, stop the war.
Stop Russia, stop the war.
Stop Russia, stop the war.
Stop Russia, stop the war.
Stop Russia, stop the war.
Yesterday and many times before that, we have paid homage to the Azov-style defenders, to the brave defenders in Mariupol who stood their ground against the Russian aggression. And we will always defend their memory of those who are no more and of those who are being held captive by the Russians even now. The Russians are torturing these captives. They do not care about international agreements. They don't care about human rights. This is why Putin refuses to admit that this is a war. Because if it is a war, then he needs to give those prisoners of war their rights. And he doesn't want to do that. Because he knows that if he admits that they are prisoners of war, he will be charged for violations against the many treaties that people have had in the past to protect those rights of the people. Now, we all know